Hello, James here. Back with another video, but some people are probably in denial when it comes to certain issues like race. And they said, why can't it just go away? Why can't we just live? When is it going to stop? Where is it coming from? Why does it keep repeating itself? Well, I'm going to give you a background, show you a couple of videos on why racism from the past that means in the present. And it's not that there are people who are black that they don't want to keep encountering it, but it keeps manifestation of it. Remember when I said this, that everything has a spirit and nothing new is up under the sun. So racism is one of the things of spirit. I'm about to show you.
This program's goal is to foster understanding, promote discussion, and expand knowledge through stories of historical events, bios of unsung heroes, as well as timely and relevant news stories which hopefully will paint a vivid picture of the effects of segregation, discrimination, and bigotry on the lives of both blacks and whites. Comparisons will be made between the many racially fractured periods of American history and what's going on right now. Most people don't realize just how much the role of race has played in how cities across America developed. The highways and public spaces that shaped our cities were often intentionally built at the expense of minority citizens. According to numerous biographers, when the urban planner Robert Moses began building projects in New York during the 1920s, he bulldozed black and Latino homes to make way for parks and built highways through the middle of minority neighborhoods. An unapologetic racist and segregationist, Moses even ordered his engineers to build the bridges low over the Southern State Parkway connecting New York City to Jones Beach in Long Island. This kept city buses, which would likely be carrying poor black and brown people, from passing underneath. He favored highways over public transit, and this helped create the modern suburbs of Long Island. Moses was not a trained civil engineer, yet his programs and designs influenced a generation of engineers, architects, and urban planners nationwide. Moses was a man who never held elected office. He never even learned to drive, yet modernized New York for the motor age. In Robert A. Caro's 1974 biography of Robert Moses, titled The Power Broker, he described Moses as, quote, the most racist human being I have ever encountered, end quote. White House news briefing on November 8, 2021, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg described the recently signed into law $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill as something that would potentially do away with the racism that guided past decisions on how roads and bridges were built.
Secretary Mayor Pete, could you give us the breakdown of the implementation of Justice 40 with the infrastructure package that's now passed and signed into law? And also, can you give us the construct of how you will deconstruct the racism that was built into the roadways that you talked to the Rio earlier when you broke that information with us? Can you talk to us about how that could be deconstructed?
For sure, yeah. So the principle of Justice 40 is that at least 40% of the clean investments in this bill will go to benefit the communities that are overburdened and underserved. So part one of that is defining those investments that are eligible, and that's a lot of it, and we're working to map out kind of program by program, mode by mode, what would qualify. For example, if we're buying clean buses, right, how do we make sure, in terms of where those buses go, but also looking at the business opportunity, the jobs that are going to be created, the businesses that will have a chance to compete for the business opportunities it creates. That too, I think, is a very important element of equity here that's in the spirit of Justice 40. And again, we have a lot of guidance and oversight from the White House since that's an administration-wide initiative. But we know that we've got to build our own internal kind of ways of aligning and defining that inside the administration. As to where we target those dollars, I'm still surprised that some people were surprised when I pointed to the fact that if a highway was built for the purpose of dividing a white and a black neighborhood, or if an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach, or it would have been, in New York was designed too low for it to pass by, that obviously reflects racism that went into those design choices. I don't think we have anything to lose by confronting that simple reality, and I think we have everything to gain by acknowledging it and then dealing with it, which is why the Reconnecting Communities, that $1 billion, is something we want to get to work right away, putting to work.
But that's such a heavy lift. I mean, you have to reconstruct communities that this happened to. As you said, some of these beltways and interstates and roadways were built before the Civil Rights Act, before the Voting Rights Act, and were meant to be racist. But how do you go about redefining and replanning these roadways and communities that are already settled in since then?
So what's interesting is it's going to vary by community, and we have to listen to the community. Sometimes it really is the case that an overpass went in a certain way that is so harmful that it's got to come down or maybe be put underground. Other times, maybe it's not that way. Maybe the really important thing is to connect across it, to add rather than subtract. And that's where we don't want to impose a one-size-fits-all answer from here. But when we were out in Syracuse, for example, looking at I-81, we saw the local vision for how they want to get past those divisions. And those local ideas are going to be taken very seriously as we try to meet the spirit of this law.
Thank you.
This is African American History is American History. Robert Moses was born in New Haven, Connecticut on December 18, 1888. In 1897, the Moses family moved to New York City. Robert Moses and his brother Paul attended several schools for their elementary and middle school education, including the Mohegan Lake School, a military academy near Peekskill in Westchester County, New York. Moses graduated from Yale College with a BA in 1909 and went on to earn a PhD in political science from Columbia University in 1914. In 1924, then New York Governor Al Smith appointed Moses chairman of the State Council of Parks and president of the Long Island State Park Commission. Moses displayed a strong command of the law as well as matters of engineering, and he quickly became known for his skill in drafting legislation. Robert Moses was called the best bill drafter in Albany. Shortly after President Franklin D. Roosevelt's inauguration in 1933, the federal government found itself with millions of New Deal dollars to spend. The only problem was states and cities had few projects ready. Moses was one of the few local officials who had projects shovel ready. For that reason, New York City was able to obtain significant Works Progress Administration, WPA, Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC, and other Depression-era funding. From January 18, 1934 to May 23, 1960, Robert Moses served as the Parks Commissioner of New York City. During the Depression, Moses, along with New York City Mayor Fiorello H. LaGuardia, was especially interested in creating new pools and other bathing facilities, such as those in Jacob Riis Park, Jones Beach, and Orchard Beach. He devised a list of 23 pools around the city. The pools would be built using funds from the Works Progress Administration. 10 of those WPA pools were designated as New York City landmarks in 2007 and 2008. However, Moses fought to keep African American swimmers out of his pools and beaches. An assistant recalled Moses demanding the pools be kept a few degrees colder himself on the wrong side of each, including his campaign against the free Shakespeare in the Park program and his effort to destroy a shaded playground in Central Park to make way for a parking lot for the expensive Tavern on the Green restaurant. Now, here's the paradox. Robert Moses was clearly a bigot, a racist, and a staunch segregationist. Yet few men have had as much impact on the shaping of New York City. His designs, which have outlived him, he died in 1981, have helped to make it one of the most vibrant and racially divided big cities in America.
Why buy your next car from Riker? That's easy. Riker moves more vehicles in Central Ohio than anyone else in the state. Massive inventories mean more.
Well, right now the Republicans are on a burn the book spree. We don't want American history taught because it's going to make us look bad, and definitely justify things like reparations. Case in point, this video that we are about to look at. When it comes to them folks, they don't change. They're still the same. I want you to watch this video from way back in the gap, and then let's talk about how they still the same in 2023.
Well, I just could not live beside them. I don't feel that they should be oppressed. But I moved here, one of the main reasons was because it was a white community. And that's the only place I intend to live. If I have to leave Levittown, I will do so.
Personally, my home life, it has an effect nothing whatsoever. But on the neighbors, they have a right. Because the average white person living in Levittown has 4 and 5 children. Well, let's put it this way. If the Levittown is migrated in hordes of, which they have a right to come here, but if something that happens that way, pretty soon my neighbor will be having a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law.
We all know, after watching that video, they still feel the exact same way in 2023. These people have not changed. They are not a progressive people. Even if they try to call themselves progressive, they're not progressive because they have not progressed from that mindset that you heard from that woman.
Well, I just could not live beside them. I don't feel that they should be oppressed. But I moved here, one of the main reasons was because it was a white community. And that's the only place I intend to live. If I have to leave Levittown, I will do so.
That woman said she went to that community because it was for them. And the moment too many black people come around, she wants to leave. That has not changed. There was a video that I covered on our African Diaspora News channel that a guy had said that if the neighborhood becomes 10% black, then them folks want to leave. Just 10%, even though they're still the majority, but in their mind, the neighborhood is not good anymore because black people moved in it. Now, this is a video that we made in 2023. This video was back in the 50s and around that time period. Then you heard this other guy was talking about, hey, if too many black people move in, you're going to have and I had to, of course, silence the word he used, son-in-law, daughter-in-law. Well, that you didn't make good on that one because, you got people today that will get upset if a black person do not want to marry a white person.
Personally, my home life, it has an effect nothing whatsoever. But on the neighbors, they have a right. Because the average white person living in Levittown has 4 and 5 children. Now, let's put it this way. If the Levittown is migrated in hordes of, which they have a right to come here, but if something that happens that way, pretty soon my neighbor will be having a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law.
Get upset. You know what? More of them will be upset with Dr. Umar Johnson when he gets on the Breakfast Club saying that he don't want to see black men with white women and black women with white men. But more of them get upset with him than even black people do. They get very upset by that. So definitely things, at least with them, has changed, but they always wanted access to black people's bodies. That has not changed anything since slavery. But when it comes to how they feel about black people, they are not a progressive people at all. And I understand that. And I'm not upset with them for not being a progressive people. I'm not upset. I understand that's just who they are. That's just how they get down. That's how they feel about people within my community. And I'm fine with that. There are individuals that are cool, that are not that way, and I'll talk with them. I'm cool with them. But we can just admit the majority is not progressive at all, and they do not want to be around black folks. And that's fine. My thing is, when black folks get our own little corner somewhere, we go buy some land, or we go to another country, or whatever we choose to do. Just keep that same energy and stay where your place at, and that way, and black folks not around you. But you want an area where black folks not at, but yet you want to come anytime you want to entertain yourself, eat something, take vacation, you want to come around black people. No, go tour the wonderful countries in Europe. Do that. Leave the African continent alone. Leave the Caribbean alone. But let me know what y'all think about this. See, this what Ron DeSantis and all them other ones don't want you to hear, and this what justifies reparations, because it's those time periods they were doing redlining, and they're still doing redlining to this day, but they don't want you to have this type of footage because you can see how nothing has changed and why reparations and conversations like that has to be made into a reality.
We all deserve to be protected. It's why we will always say yes to you. If you're 45 to 85,
Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm about to share with you some audio that is coming from these two right here on the screen, and they're basically telling the truth about the black experience here in America when it comes to law enforcement. Now, I've seen their channel for years, and they have done that for many, many years. It shouldn't have to be that you have to hear it from other people in order to believe it, because black people have been sharing their experiences for a very long time. We know what we go through, we know what we've seen, we know our experience, right? But unfortunately, when we talk about our experiences, it is said that we are the ones keeping the division going and racism alive and all of these other deflective, gaslighting things, right? But anyway, I want you to take a listen at what these two have to say, and they go into a lot of detail about how many of these stories they have covered where so-called black people are experiencing these horrible things. And in this case, we are talking about a black officer who was beaten by, guess who? White officers. He was a black undercover officer who was beaten by white officers. And they're going to explain his experience in detail as well as the experience of others. So take a listen and I will be right back.
A black undercover police officer was basically beaten up by his own colleagues during a Black Lives Matter protest in 2017. Now, he went undercover, and so did another white police officer from the same department, and the outcome of this story gives you a sense of how profiling and prejudice really works. On September 17th, 2017, Detective Luther Hall was working undercover during a protest for Anthony Lamar Smith, a black man who was shot 5 times by cops in 2011. Hall, who was dressed in plain clothes, was mistaken for a protester by his fellow policemen. And so he was not only arrested, his cell phone was destroyed, they took the chip out of the cell phone, and they proceeded to beat him to the point where prosecutors got involved in this case. And now there are some consequences for the officers who played a role in his beating. So here are some photos from the prosecutor's exhibit in the case, and it shows you how Hall was beaten. You know, his lip is busted. You can see some of the, wounds on his body. Hall was documenting the protest with a camera, and that's when he was detained and beaten, had his cell phone destroyed, and was finally arrested by fellow members members of the St. Louis Police Department. Hall immediately underwent multiple surgeries following the attack by his co-workers and still suffers from permanent neck damage. Now, since the victim was a cop, there were actually some consequences for the cops who beat him. For instance, Dustin Boone, a former cop with the St. Louis Police Department, was found guilty Thursday of depriving his injured fellow officer, Detective Luther Hall, of his civil rights. The deprivation of rights under color of law is a felony civil rights charge and could put the ex-cop behind bars for up to 10 years. His sentencing will take place in July. We don't know what his sentence will be just yet. Boone also, by the way, has a history of violence against protesters and racism. In 2017, he allegedly slapped a case suspect in the face and sent officers texts joking about it, saying the suspect, quote, got his eyes widened with a little slap from a white boy, LOL. And there were two other former cops who have actually pleaded in this case. The two former cops with the department, Randy Hayes and Bailey Coletta, both also pleaded guilty to the beating earlier this year, and Hall has received a $5 million settlement. But notice that there was a white undercover cop who did not face the same, experience.
No, I actually thought that was probably the most interesting part of the story. They both go undercover, and when the cops see a white protester, what they think is a white protester and a black protester, they let the white protester go completely. They don't do anything to him. The black protester, they kicked the living crap out of. He started FaceTiming. The cop who was doing the beating started FaceTiming with his girlfriend, told her ahead of time. He was looking forward to it. Now, it turns out he wasn't looking forward to beating up protesters in general. He was looking forward to beating up black protesters. Okay? And so, now the second part of the story is, if he wasn't recording it himself, the cop, and it turned out that the person he beat up wasn't a cop, but was just a regular citizen, what do you think would have happened?
No consequences.
None. And then, guys, think about this. How many times do you think that's happened? Especially before all the cell phone cameras and all the body cameras came out for the cops, how often do you think the cops kick the living crap out of African American men just for fun? Because it's not about the protest. He let the white protester go completely. They all did. All of those cops did. Because it wasn't just Boone. It was the other cops as well. And they're like, oh, good. Here's a black guy. We get to have fun by giving him permanent neck damage. And by the way, of course, the second thing they do after that, normally, if it's not an undercover cop, is they then charge him with assaulting them.
Or resisting arrest.
And resisting arrest, and those are the charges they usually put on people. And then that ruins not only their physical health, but their careers. Because then from then on, every single time they go to get a job, they have to check off, I'm a felon. Okay, let alone going to prison, etc. So this is how police have been systematically abusing black men in this country for literally hundreds of years. And the former Baltimore officer who I did an interview with, that still rings in my ears, where he's white, and he said, even if they put us into white areas, we had to get a quota of arrests. We didn't want to arrest white people because they could turn out to be powerful. We'd always go to the black neighborhoods, no matter where you were assigned, and just arrest people. Who cares? You got to make the quota because it's part of your job. And he said, did you think all black people in this country were lying all this time? No. We abuse them. And partly because of racism, partly because they have no power. And so that's the reality of America. And the only people who deny it are the ones who kind of like that reality and don't want to get woken up to it. And they just want to say, hey, look, let the cops do what they're going to do. We need cops and law and order. And then whenever you do law and order on somebody on their side and go, hey, maybe Trump or one of his cronies should be arrested for their corruption, instead of going, no, we don't want law and order. Oh, I see. So you just wanted to be able to brutalize minorities in this country and not be discomforted by it, and that's what you hired the cops to do. So that's just the reality of America. This is one of the hundreds of cases we've covered alone, let alone all the ones that are out there that we haven't had a chance to cover, and the ones that happened in the past with no video coverage, or that happened today with no video coverage. I think it's a super fair assumption that if you hear a policeman and a it's a safer bet to say that the cop is lying and that the person that the cop assaulted is telling the truth.
I mean, at this point, how many stories have we covered where the police report completely conflicts with what the video surveillance shows?
Nearly every time.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, not every single time, but many of the stories that we've covered.
That's why I say nearly.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, look, there's the story of the guy that we did a couple weeks ago. They hog-tied him, they beat the crap out of him, and then he died. And you see it all on video, but they didn't realize the video was going to come out. And they said that he had run into a tree and died from a car accident. It's just one lie after another, and unless the guy happens to be an undercover cop, all the cops do thin blue line, hey, he's on our gang, it doesn't matter who we killed, who we beat up, etc. We're all going to lie on his behalf. So don't come telling me the cops are honest. The thin blue line means we lie for each other on purpose, systematically. That's what the whole point of thin blue line is.
Okay, so there you have it. It's unfortunate that many people won't believe it or accept it unless it's coming from someone other than the people who experience these things, so-called black people. It's sad and unfortunate, but it is what it is. But I always have to bring it back home in the situations. And those of you in the know where home is. We know that this stuff is prophesied, that these things would happen to so-called black people, but those doing it would find themselves not guilty. They are always finding themselves not guilty, right? And gaslighting and deflecting and making it seem as though it's all in our heads, or that we are pretending or we're over-exaggerating. But in this case, you saw where it was a black police officer and a white police officer who were both undercover. But true to their nature, the other white officers who didn't know that they were undercover, how was it that they landed on the black officer and beat him and not the white officer? Now, I'm not suggesting that the white officer is beat or that anyone is beat, but it's kind of tripped out, and it kind of plugs into what we say all the time, that it is a black thing, because both of them were protesting undercover, but they didn't lay a hand or a finger on the white officer that was undercover, but they ended up beating down and having permanent damage to the black officer that he's going to have to deal with for the rest of his life. Permanent means the rest of your life for the most part. So how is it that that happened? And they're trying to convince us that it has nothing to do with skin color. Here you have a fellow officer. What is the excuse now? What is the excuse now? Because you beat down a fellow officer. But back to reality. This was prophesied. It was prophesied that these things would happen. Now, that is not justification for these things happening. When we say it's prophesied, it's not justification. It's basically to say that there is a spirit or a demonic force working within these people to carry out the deeds that they are carrying out. Now, they believe that they are doing the will of the Most High Yah. That's a whole other story, right? But what they are doing is carrying out the deeds that spirits have been permitted to give them as assignments. Demonic spirits. If that makes any sense. Those of you in the know what I'm talking about. Now the rest of you may be like, what the heck is she talking about? What I'm talking about is the fact that there are demonic forces or spiritual forces that are working in people or through people to carry out certain deeds so that prophecy comes to pass. It was prophesied that we would be in the land of our captivity, and it was also prophesied how we would be treated in the land of our captivity. Right? It was also said that those who do repent can expect good things to happen. Okay? So it's not all bad. The word says that if your ways be found right in the sight of the Most High, even your enemies will be at peace with you. They will be at peace with you. So anyway, I just wanted to share this with you so that you can hear it from someone other than us, because A lot of people are fully aware of what is happening to so-called black people here in America and around the world. And many are waking up to this reality and they are talking about it. And they are no longer pushing it under the carpet and pretending that it is not happening. Okay, so until next time.
The district attorney, D. Bates, told reporters that
this young man, they attacked while he was doing his job.
This country.
Ladies and gentlemen, many of you might remember the FedEx driver that was shot at by two white hillbillies. Many of you, and this happened in Mississippi. Well, I guess they cleaned up. They got haircuts and everything. Well, it was a mistrial. Nobody should be surprised. This is Mississippi, y'all. Okay, it's Mississippi. Let's not forget about their reputation. Mississippi judge declares mistrial in case of two white men charged in attack on black FedEx driver. Now, if you remember, because I did this story, it was said that that police chief was related to them, and he tried to deny it. But the people that lived around in that area says, nope, they are related. And trust me, that had a lot to do with this. It had a lot to do with this. So a Mississippi judge declared a mistrial Thursday in a case of two white men charged in attack on a black FedEx driver who was making a delivery. Brandon Case and Gregory Case, and if you remember, the police chief had that same last name, Case, are charged with attempted first-degree murder, conspiracy, and shooting into a vehicle driven by DeMontario Gibson. And this happened January of 2022. Gibson, who is now 25, was not injured, but the chase and gunfire that led to complaints on social media of racism in Brookhaven, about an hour's drive south of the state capital of Jackson, Mississippi. So this judge that declared a mistrial, he should be removed from the bench as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
His name is David Strong. That's the name of the judge. Said he made the mistrial decision because of errors by the Brookhaven Police Department detective. Oh, you mean the same one where their relative was a police chief? They made an error? On Wednesday, the judge ended day's sessions early after Detective Vincent Fernando, he acknowledged under oath while the jury was out of the courtroom. Oh, well, why did you put him under oath without a jury being there? I'm just saying. He had not previously given prosecutors or the defense attorneys a videotape statement police had taken from Gibson. The judge said the officer also improperly testified about some guns that were found at the home of one of the men on trial and about gun shell casings found outside the home. Now remember, he got this cop, who is sound like Latino, on the stand with no jury in the room. They made sure the jury was not in the room when all of this was said. So defense attorneys request the mistrial, and Strong said he had no choice but to grant it. Y'all, they botched this up on purpose. Like I said, the former police chief was related to these guys. got the same last name, Case. They did this on purpose. This was a deliberate act. Terrell Stubbs, the defense attorney for Gregory Case, declined to comment. Gregory and Brandon Case remained out on bond. Sharon McClendon, Gibson's mother, burst out loud in court. I know that is very upsetting. Your son got shot at, and you are sitting in a courtroom that is clearly letting you know, sending you a message, they are not going to do anything about it. They're not going to do nothing. So she left as uninformed Mississippi Highway Patrol officers walked in her direction. Yeah, I bet they did. It's just a form of intimidation. That's all. After court adjourned, the district attorney, Lee Bates, told reporters that...
Hi, I'm Bear from Bear Box Marketing. Let me tell you why SEO is actually a great fit for most businesses.
Sorry about that. Yeah, but I'm just showing you different clips because people don't believe it. They don't believe that this stuff is still happening. And so I have to show an earlier history of it. Like here's the present, here's the past, and here's the present. The spirit of it has never left America. The spirit of racism have never left America. It's not, and it always be around. And it transforms. It goes from one generation to another generation. Sorry about that. But yeah, that was one case. Shit. Oops. Let me go back to that. Sorry about that. But yeah, people don't believe that this thing with race still exists. They don't believe that, we are here, we a lot better than, we go on backwards. And people are surprised that that we ain't like the way it used to be. Well, it's slightly going back the way it used to be. Because you got the same people carrying the same spirit of racism. And Mississippi has not, in places in not just Mississippi, but other places around the country, still carry a spirit of racism. And we think, there's some people that still carry it. And as a black person and any other person of color, you got to be careful. Because you don't know how it's going to come. And so that's the whole purpose of me playing these videos, is to show you, because people say, that's just in the past. It's getting better. Oh, really? Oh, really? It's getting better. And you see how the one guy was a cop doing his job, but his other fellow police officers didn't even listen to him. And subconsciously, it's race. That's how dangerous subconsciously we see race in this country. And then people don't want to admit that it's race. That it's no, it's not that. No, Okay. Sometimes you got to put it in, it's like you got to put it in their face. But yeah, we have a racial problem of people. We have a racial problem in America. And it's getting around the world. And I'm going to show you it's getting around the world. When I show you this video, it's going to shock you what this man said. He was he asked the question, why are you shooting black people? If I can find that video. What is about our skin that, even when, like he said, even if black people move away, they will come down and mess with black people. It's like, God, dog. No matter if they online, they doing something, black people can mind their own business. And they don't go after the ones that be doing the bad things. They go after the ones that just be minding their own business. They're not in their provision. That's what I don't understand, that shit. Like, that's why I said it's got to be spiritual. That you got to go antagonize the people for no reason. That never mess with you. And I believe it's just because sometimes we're seeing on TV, no matter we create the Lay's dance, no matter we do anything as a people, they always got to come at us. It's like, God, dog. And I'm like, some people be scratching my head too, like, damn, what is it about black people? You hate that doggone much. Okay, if you don't like somebody, don't go around them. But it's like they just insistent, I'm going to take my hatred to a whole different level of hating you. I'm going to kill you, but basically delete you, or what I say. Like, that's crazy. That's how deep hatred is. Envious, prejudice. It's that deep. That it's gotten that deep. And basically, you got to be careful. If you of the opposing people who that this spirit is in the land was founded on violence. The land was founded on violence and terror and tyranny and terror as under disguise of patriotic. Crazy, ain't it? But I'm gonna show you this video. What this woman did to his 12-year-old boy. A 12-year-old boy. Where'd you hear this story?
What's up, family? Let's talk about an uncivilized mutt. Kimberly Jennings, 62 years old, assaulted a black boy at a pool because he allegedly was not authorized to be in the pool. He didn't live there. So she thought it was a good idea to assault not only him but his sister. She reportedly pulled his sister's hair. That's when the boy threw a bottle at her. They took off, and then she, at some point, I'm not sure if it was the same day or later, but she opened the top of a Coke bottle and threw it all over the kid. 62 years old, assaulting a kid under 12. She's been charged with 2 counts of simple assault. I do believe she's been under charge now. This is child abuse. I do believe, in fact, it's attempted murder. I think that she should be definitely locked up. She should be facing a minimum of 17, 18 years. 20 to life. That's good. You know why I say 20 to life, fam? Because this ain't her first time. Now, as far as we know, she haven't been relieved of her managerial duties at Sedgefield Gardens apartment complex. But, fam, Sedgefield is not hard to find. I do believe if you're in the area, you should just stop by and pay her a visit. Just to check on her. You dig what I'm saying? The tenants at that building, at that apartment complex, should be very concerned that you have an adult woman walking around that complex abusing children. The children are not safe. There were two, looked like black males, at least one black male, but it looked like two black males who stood by and watched the assault. What type of uncivilized mutts are they? And who raised them? Not on my watch. Ain't no way. And look, fam, I know a lot of y'all care about money so much that you'll kill your own mama. You turn in your own child. You do anything for money. But money to me ain't that important. Well, I will allow even my supervisor, my manager, my boss to assault a small child on my watch, and I just turn and look the other way. Perhaps they allowed that to happen because they're built like that. Perhaps they've assaulted some children, and maybe that's why they were cool with it. But a person who ain't about that would never allow something like that to happen. This chick is an animal. She should be put down, caged. That's right, I said it. She should be caged. 2 counts of simple assault. Nah, she's being undercharged, fam. She need to be facing 20 to life. So why did she do it? She says that she tried to run the kid off at the pool because he wasn't supposed to be in the pool. He don't live over there at the complex, so he wasn't supposed to be there. So she confronted him about it, and he started mouthing off. So she threw some soda on him, and then bopped him once. That's her term. Bop. Bopped him once. And yeah, I was wrong. This is her whack ass apology. Yeah, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done it, but you know, what do you do? But what do you do when they're cussing you out, you know, and you don't know if they're gonna hit you again? Y'all believe that, fam? The boy didn't seem like he was the hitting adult type. But I do give him credit for defending his sister when she was pulling his sister's hat. I do believe that she did pull the sister's hat. So I give him credit for standing up for his sister and throwing that bottle at that uncivilized mutt. I give him credit for that, for standing up for his sister. But what say you, fam? Do you believe the words that came out of her gutter mouth? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. No more talk.
So, adult put their hands on a young child. You know, I wonder if she'd have been black and she did that to a white child. What if the roles were reversed? But you have to question stuff like that because some people do. In this system, they do. The system's set up that way. You know, it's crazy. But it's just, you see stuff like this, it's just shake your head. And like I said, it doesn't go away. It does not go away. And you know, even when black people live separate apart, you know, I guess they'll come on down around black people. It's like, I just don't get it. I have put on this most whitest cities and counties. You don't have to even live around black people. If you got that much disdain for black people. I mean, it's still like that. There's some counties and throughout the United States and even here in Ohio, shit is still predominantly white. You don't have to worry about that problem. I see you don't have to worry about being labeled a bigot. Because ain't nobody around to be accusing you of being a bigot, you know? It's crazy. I don't know why that is. Then these same people probably be teachers at your kids at the kids' school and teaching them with that mess.
Okay, so you guys wanted to check this one out like a while ago, a long time ago. It's called "Why Are You Killing Blacks? Filipino President to America, man." So apparently, this is the Filipino president speaking out to the American president or the Americans just in general about why are they killing so many black people? Like for real, like why are all the black people just dying? Like police brutality, man, all that stuff. Like what is going on? Is there something going on that we don't know about? Well, the Filipino president is going to address that, I'm guessing, in this video. So let's watch this video, man. I want to see what they have to say.
So recently there's been a lot of negative news in the Western press about President Duterte of the Philippines. So just to get things in context, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I've never had any sort of drug in my system. I dislike drugs. I hope other young people would not take drugs, but I believe it is their choice. As a government, your role is to help. I don't support extrajudicial killing in any way. But extrajudicial killing in any way. But I really like his answers to this American reporter in this particular interview. Let's take a listen.
Mr. President, at the risk of being shot down, the numbers of people who have been killed on the streets of the Philippines since you came to power 6 weeks ago have risen to around 1,000. Now, I know you have been contemptuous of your critics, but they are accusing you of unleashing a national death squad. Where is this going to end? Because some are saying that the social fabric of the Philippines is at risk here.
Good. That's a very good question. It can happen. It happens in America. They're shooting the blacks there. It shows on TV. It shows on TV. What's the difference between America and the Philippines? Nothing. So what is surprising here is surprising to us. We see a policeman there shooting a black guy there. How many times had it happened in the past? That's why you have the violent demonstration. So, would it surprise you and me? Almost the same. One case only, 3 cases. So what? It involves the same principle. Say for every 1 black there dead, you have about 5 here. And so, does it make this world more livable because there is less killing? When you shoot a black there dead, what is that? Is that not appalling? When you bomb Syria and Iraq and you kill communities and you kill children and old people and hospital, what is it? And why is it that United States is not doing anything? I do not read anybody in that stupid body complaining about the stench there of that. Look at the iconic boy that was taken out from the rubble. And he was made to sit in the ambulance and we saw it. So what's the difference? Life of a criminal or maybe he was really rough out? We do not discount it. But what do you think that Americans did to the black people there? Is that not wrapping out also? I say, well, it was just one community there, one state of America. Well, but you have there about 10. So what's the difference? Are we here for the counting or the basic principles of human rights? Almost the same.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So you just saw how he responded to the reporter. So you see, the reporter was very condescending in his question, trying to undercut the legitimacy of any answer that the president was going to give. He asked that question with a pumped up ego, like, I am from the West, I am white, and I'm better than you. Yeah. So the issue is about how American media has been demonizing other people in terms of human rights and other things when they have so much issues in their backyard to talk about.
Right.
So the American maltreatment and oppression of the black people in the US really undercuts any legitimacy that they have in the international scene to talk about human rights. Not just how they treat the black people, but also how they go around bombing and torturing other places. So Duterte was not doing anything new. He was asking questions that most people around the world usually ask, but because the media doesn't report it, Americans don't hear it. And you can see that the media tried to not report it. So you can search Duterte, you see that they don't report about some of the gutsiest things that he was saying against the US. Look at the United States. Are you not committing human rights violations?
Every day.
Should the UN come in? Because all these international media are clamoring and saying the UN should come in and do something about what's happening in Philippines. I think it is wrong. Something should be done about it. But he's asking a very good question. If we are committing human rights violations and you think the UN should come, what about America, who has consistently and continued to commit human rights violations?
Over many years.
The issue is about international law, human rights, the issue of civilized versus barbaric. The conversation has always been portrayed in a way that the US is seen as a civilized, or the West is seen as a civilized people, and the rest of the world is the barbaric, group. But Duterte is saying, if the reasons why you think we are civilized, you are civilized and we are barbaric, are actually happening in your place, what's the difference between you and I, so that you can sit down and wag your fingers at me? But as the Bible in Matthew chapter 7 verse 5 says, you hypocrite, first remove the beam out of your eye, and then you can see clearly to remove the speck out of your brother's eye. What this means is that America needs to take care of its own shit. Or the West needs to take care of their own shit before they go around poking fingers and pointing fingers at other people for human rights violations and things.
Honestly, when I sit down and watch this video, it touches so many good points and so many true things, man. Because I don't know, when I feel like America feels like they're like the international police, man. Honestly, America feels like they're in everyone's business. Like they're always in Iraq, they're in Sudan. If there's anything, America's always part of it. Like trying to fix other people's problems. But why are they trying to fix other people's problems when they have so much problems at home?
Right.
So much problems like this, killing so many blacks. That has been going on for years in America, man. Years. There are places where as a black man, you just walk down the street, you may drive a nice car, have nice clothes on, man, and then you'll get harassed by police officers. They just look at you and they assume, one, either you shouldn't be there, or you're probably trying to rob someone right away. Two, if you're driving a nice car, that car must have been stolen because there's no way you can afford it because black people don't work hard in America. That's what they say. It's just so messed up. It's like every day there's human rights being violated every single day in America, but yet they want to go somewhere else to another country and tell the other country, listen, you're violating human rights and this is how it should be done. You can't be doing that stuff. Like America has no right to be doing that stuff. Like first, fix their problems at home, America. Like honestly, fix the problems at home first.
Right.
Then deal with, if you want. Not even then, man. Like honestly, just stay out of everyone else's business, man.
Right.
Because I think there's so much going on in America.
You get that right.
Like there's so much poverty in America. Like you guys be surprised how poor America actually is, man. The citizens of America is so poor. There's places in America that's so bad, so run down, that no one talks about it. No one. The media doesn't talk about it because they know they don't want to make America look bad. America's supposed to be one of the...
Imagine a community where all the homes are built.
And I'm going to leave it right there. He's absolutely right. We don't need to be going over to Africa or in no Arab country or Asian country telling them what to do with their business. We need to stay out of our own business, and I had to reflect that. But the question is, why does this happen? Because America we the one in the Western countries that have a spirit of racism, and nobody don't want to talk about this. When you come to the land, and I hope it get to somebody to do, your skin color matters in America. Before where you come from, your skin color matters, because people ask you, what are you? What are you, Hispanic? You're black? What are you? So if you're not, no, I'm not Hispanic, I'm not black, but what are you? Are you from Middle Eastern? What are you? You know why they do that? Because the West, like America, we have a racial, there are some people here will call you out a racial name. So when time you cross somebody, particularly, I'm sorry to say this, with white people, they got to make a name for you, and it will spread all over. If you Middle Eastern, they call it Middle Eastern with a camel and something else. If you're Asian, they call you whatever Asian group, they call them out their name. You can do the history on every other racial group, non-white, and they'll tell you. I'm telling you the truth. They make up, wherever is majority white, there's somebody in that group that's going to call you out your name, because they want to know what you are. They're going to pick at you. They're going to slant your eyes. And then it came down to other communities of people. But yeah, America was founded on racism. It's definitely due. And it's like, why all these people moving in? Because subconsciously, there are people and there are white people that grew up in a time where it was just them. They have never adjusted to America changing, and they're scared and they're feared. I'm gonna put it back on them. It's the truth. They're the one that America put segregation even when it went to other countries. When it comes to military time, did you know that they did that down in the early 1900s when they went to Panama? They divided the people up. When the Americans went down there, they divided people up in early 1900s. When America went over and fought Nazi, you had black soldiers here that they would just treat them. Now they fight long, and it took up until like 1950 to desegregate the army. America was founded, it was but it was part on racism before. It was patriotism along with the racism. That's a fact. That's a fact. That you were black soldiers were separated. They had Asians, they had Hispanics separated, Native Americans separated. Some of that time, but the whites, that's how inferiority, even in the military, there was. They had an inferiority mind. They think that they didn't want to be less than. So we carry in America, they carry a history of that to other people. And then it comes back. Now here, and I want to stress this out too. How many people we have in here in nationalities now? How many nationalities we have of people in? Do you know it's still black and white and brown? All the other nationalities, even no matter, take the statistic, they always worry about black people. They'll say something, well, black people allowed to get this disease if it's something else. Black people, it's like they really, I've never seen it like, and I think sometimes that put other people like, well, damn, what's about these black people that they keep coming at? And then they get jealous and like these other nations get mad at us. Like, and sometimes envious us because it's the white people that make everything black and white. Then when they do it with the statistics, they do it in medical, they do it with judicial, then they do it with financial, they do it with other education and everything else. It's their system. And no matter if it's a left wing, right wing, no matter the Republican, Democrat, it's subconsciously, because no matter, we live in the same neighborhood, and we two white people, it don't matter. It don't matter if we can disagree and agree and disagree about our politics, but when it comes to other races, we gotta come together. That's the truth. That's the doggone truth. People don't want to tell it, but this is a fact. Because if race wasn't better, Why does it keep? You ask me. So why does it keep rising? Because subconsciously they can't let it go. Black people would love to let race go, but we are the victim. We're one of the groups of people are victim of it all the time. Whether it's on a job, whether we try to live, whether we do anything. And I show you from a child up to an elder, you are subjected to it. When you come into the land, you got to identify with your skin. And you know how many different nationalities of people are here? How many different nationalities? So America is a land. Now it's land. Yes, it's land opportunity, but it's also land of what side of the race you pick on. That's the underline of it. Are you going to identify as white? Or you going as the other? And there are people that, and I can show you history. No matter if they were Italian, no matter if they were Indian, no matter if they were Arab, they had to define as white because subconsciously we live in a country that see race, that goes right to the Constitution. But we all equal though. But we subjected people to that. Who's doing this? So I have to show you that even from the past and the present, that even some over in another part of the country, I don't think he's not the president no more, but they see something going on. And so Americans, I think how we all come together, and we gotta go to some place where we don't have to, some people live in America because you don't have to think like that because it's your character outside of America. It's your where you come. But when you come, being in America, living in America, your color matters. Your color matters. And don't let people tell you it doesn't matter. They want to floss it over. Because some of them same people that is in the well-to-do communities that some of these people go to, some of them do get kind of like scared and wonder. And the same people, like they said, they'll go to Africa and the Caribbean. Some of these same people that worry about people being in their race, but they go around other people of different race. And some of them are racist as hell. And they got the inner races. I don't get that. It's like what Phil said, why don't you go where there's more white people at? If that's the case, then it's like the black people who they do, it's the ones that don't cause the crime or cause anything. They come over and mess with black people. The ones that ain't doing nothing, they're going about mind their own business. But it's a subconscious level. Like you own one of them. It's almost like you can control one of them. They'll be under your command. It's almost like a mindset here in America. And they act like we don't. And it's called the colonial. So they carry that same spirit when they go over to Africa. That's why just like Joe Biden way he tried to in France like the other people tried to do the people over there. Because when he come from that era. That's right. He comes from that era. And so you gotta talk to black people, and that's the way it is. And I got the control. I got the power. That's why they do us over here like this. It's the truth. But when the African nation stepped up, and the mother nation said, "We get tired of your mess. You know, we don't care. We're gonna take this away from. We don't give a fuck." It's like whoa. And that's why I recognize that spirit. It's the same kind of spirit they talk to us over the black people over here. Then they'll hand pick a black person to kind of water that down because they don't want to be labeled as the racist. And you'll see black people in the cabinet, but he's still a racist. He's still a racist. He accused Trump being a racist. He's just as well. You think that spirit leave people like that? You think he'll ever repent because of that? You think Joe Biden will? And some black people are foolish. He showed up around this town because of the march. He don't care. Let's like DeSantis. They don't care. They're opportunists. They're all this about votes. They have to keep it going. They don't care. They don't care. And it's the same spirit is in this land. That's what you see. And it even teaches other people how to be racist towards other people, particularly black people. Black people are criminals. The media show that. There's some people that choose but do criminality, but they're not doing criminality because of race, but they have to show the image. That's what it is. So he's like, man, I see him on the football team. Why are these blacks doing that? I see them on TV. They're all over the place. And their jealousy and their envious turn into another when it comes to our people. Like that person's fault for being talent. I can't help you, but that's another thing. It's jealousy and envious. That's why we have racism here. Racism spawned that. Jealousy spawned. Envious spawned that. We black, maybe some of us have some prejudice, but we don't. Most of us don't act out on other people. We don't. We got too many. We got to deal with the mental illness of being against each other. Let alone deal with this other race of people that had did nothing to them. But yeah, he's right. And as far as the conditions, we got a lot more. We got people in all walks of life in poverty. They don't want to address that. And the meth addict in the rural areas, they don't want to address that. Just as well as the crack addict and other stuff that's going on in the city. And they got to put the blame. And they put more black men in prison. And even when they do on the laws, they really don't want to put a lot of white men in prison for 10, 20, 30 years. Why? Because there's a motive behind that. Because he's saying break the blame tankers, because if you take a man out of the home, he can't produce an offspring. That's how deep racism is. And they don't think that we've been in this country for 450. They haven't figured that out. I mean, some of us have. That's why they took the black men and this was target to separate the black women and black women. See, the white men can do that, but they particularly target black people in 50, 60 years ago when they gave them some substance. So that's why black children were separated from their fathers, and they would punish the black woman if you want these benefits, just like they do overseas. Yeah, that's why some black homes were tore up. They know that they did. The crack epidemic, they did it because they trying to destroy it. Then they designed the music industry to influence the young generations to build so they can put them to knock off their stuff and to put them in prison. This is all documented. To build more prisons to put more black men take that against it. That's a form of slavery. It transformed itself. Another thing that they did, they put a division between the black men and black women. Then, even though we do have some people who are LGBTQ, but they push it more and more on because they want to cut the population down. We are that much of a threat to them that they're trying to push it on younger black males in particular. There's other people being in LGBTQ, but they have to showcase it more. So to be influenced by the thousands. This system is wicked, man. Racism is wicked. It goes in all different areas. And not only that, we got to deal with that, then we got to deal with the mental aspect of in the black community. The fatherless, homeless, like any other community. But America did this. It's the truth. Even to this day, if there's a virus going around, they'll pull out how many people of this race. That watch this, watch it, watch. Before they do, they're gonna start figuring out what race is susceptible to a virus. Tell me if I'm lying, but we don't see race though. Well, you give 9 chances out of 10, your people going to get this. They do that. I mean, even though there are some people, and really, as far as health, when it comes to health, that's genetic. It has nothing to do with race. But America makes it about race. And think about the medical system was built on white supremacy. So it taught the whole medical community that this was what. But it's like any other people, there was a race, color, creed. If you don't eat healthy, you can have the same symptom. I've seen many white people have high blood pressure. Anything is black, what they put on black people. Say that black people genetically get higher. If that was the case, then we wouldn't be and have to have the damn sports. That's the truth. But they put this witchcraft person. This is how deep it is. Not that the stuff that don't happen, but they literally have to look at. They have to study race. They make a study race. Well, the banking industry. Well, if you're African American, most likely their score is going to be a little bit lower than a white American. They do that stuff. They look at everything as race. Well, what are the kills in prison? Because they're race. Every time it's like it's with no matter 10, 20 different nationalities, America will use black and white as a race. The opposing force is black. All the way from the common man to the White House is color, but it's under patriotism. It is. You need to say the truth. Look at the studies. You don't believe me? Just do your research and ask yourself. And look at what's going on right now. We got about 20 different nationalities of people, and they're still. But now, these other nationalities get mad at us because we think that we get some kind of favor or whatever. But as a black American, we're not. They're trying to curse us off the earth. Torture us, torment us, and get us off the earth. Cut the population down. And it's the Most High God is keeping us land of living and producing more. All because of skin. We're the only one of the only few Western nations that got this problem with skin. And it's subconsciously we do it. Then we said we're not racist. Yes, we is. Particularly white people. Some white people are racist. They don't want to be less than other people on the planet. Because if that was the case, then you wouldn't be making things about race. There's even some white people that tell you themselves what they talk about the people. See, when truth comes forward, it don't matter what color it is. When truth comes forward, it's truth. And people don't want to be revealed that because it unlocks and discovers that. It's time to take the glove, so they have to hide up under religion. They have to hide up under politics. But subconsciously, America will always be racist till God flip this world over. Just like some other nation, they'll still be racist. We're not the only ones. There's even parts of Canada is racist. Part of Europe is racist. They'll tell you. And even and none of that's racist is colorism. You go to Latin America, it's colorism. You go to the Middle East, it's colorism. All because of skin. Culture and skin. Different culture, and they must be less than the other culture. Crazy. But yeah, when you come to the American shores, this would go to anybody, you are taught to look at the skin before you look at the character. And you don't believe me? Stay here long enough. Watch. And if you're not black and you're not white, you'll see what I'm talking about. They're going to want to know what. If you ain't Hispanic or Middle Eastern, watch. They're going to ask you, what race are you? Because they got to know. Because if you get to a disagreement with somebody, they got to think of what the label your people. It's a bad name, an offensive name. And I'm sorry to say, white people, they're the master at it. Because that's how they master up. That's how we learn racism on other people. America is one of the places that did it. And it spread that stuff all over. Yeah. They tell you, but that's the truth. You go over the other seas, someone like, where did this word come from? Came from the Americans. This offensive word came from the Americans. Watch. All right then. just open your eyes and you see, ladies and gentlemen. And for those who love the content, love the truth, subscribe and like. And hey, it's a wake-up call. Be careful, and keep yourself armed and alert. Be blessed.